All right, I guess this is live now. So, hello to maybe one viewer if my count is correct. But yeah, today I'm going to be doing some programming on my StarCraft bot and hopefully polishing up the Forge Fast expand build a bit because it's currently pretty exploitable for timing attacks, and I'd like to upload to Snail soon, and I kind of feel like it'll not hold up at all to humans. So, so I'm going to be looking at that. Hi, Dan. Okay, the first thing I need to do is make a bit of changes to my strategy selection, since right now I don't have any way from my tests to specify that it should use a specific strategy. The fact that it has openings is pretty new, so that's why it isn't there yet. So I'm just going to put it in at the top here and pass it down to the various strategy engines. Yeah, um, yeah, that's the good thing about having all of the bots source code directly in here, that you can basically go in and do whatever you want, right? Um, so yeah, the way I've set it up is a little bit weird because the tests run in separate threads, or the two bots run in separate threads, so you don't, or not even separate threads, separate processes. So so sometimes when I'm just letting the bots go and choose their own strategies, I want to actually know it in my own main thread so I can rename the replay and stuff. So I have some kind of weird stuff with shared memory that kind of doesn't really work, but it works well enough. But all right, I will just add to this as well. In general, my opening selection is a bit, I mean, like most of the bot, pretty simply implemented in as short a period of time as possible. You just see, do I need to update this here as well? This actually, yeah, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm pretty happy with the setup. It's there's always some things that 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 don't work perfectly, but I mean the one thing that I've always been annoyed about is the fact that I haven't gotten the UI in OpenBW to work. So basically, like whenever I've tried to enable the flag that should pop it up, it just pops up a window and crashes. So so that's never really gotten off the ground, because I mean, being able to pause in the debugger while you actually have the game up is also fairly valuable. So a lot of the stuff I've done in Cherry Viz and that kind of thing has been stuff that I guess ideally wouldn't have been needed if I could do more live debugging. Right. Okay, and I need to pass this down here. All right, I'm just gonna build so I see how many errors I get. Yeah, and I guess the most of the development was probably done on Linux and maybe even 32-bit Linux at that. But uh, I mean, the thing in yeah, oh, okay. I mean, the one thing that I would have liked to be able to integrate is the thing you guys had in Torchcraft for basically like loading in any bots DLL into OpenBW, but that was pretty much a no-go on running as a 64-bit process. Kind of pulling in a 32-bit DLL on Mac 64-bit was too much to ask for. I've kind of considered whether I should try to make a like a Dockerized thing that does it though. It would be cool to package it up to have something that's kind of like SC Docker, but instead of running the game itself in Wine, just runs like OpenBW with that adapter thing in a slim Linux distro, which would probably be pretty fast. I've kind of felt like my SC Docker setup every once in a while just starts getting slower and slower, and then I need to go in and clean it all out and see what's going on with it. Yeah, and of course my Plasma strategy engine that I implemented about a week before Plasma was removed from the COG map pool. Always good for a compile error. Yeah. Yeah, and I guess like specifically for your bot, something's happened with the Java performance on my SC Docker, so it just always yeah, plays super poorly because it's doing so little, and that's unfortunate. But I guess it forces me to actually release to Bazel a bit more often. Yeah, okay. All right. Guess while it's compiling, I can try to actually plug in the one that I want to do. Yeah, okay, that's obviously not going to work. Um, Actually, I kind of want to rename this override instead. At this point, it's going to be annoying. Mm. Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely nice for me to have a setup where I can just kind of natively run a bunch of bots, but it is also the downside of it is that updating to a new version generally means making a lot of changes to make it build. Um, Most bots are built for the Microsoft compiler, and there are some things it allows that Clang doesn't. Okay, did I not set that? Hang on. Okay, that just does that. Are we initializing this somewhere? Where do we call that from? It's not here. I should do this. Or is it? Yeah, that's cool. I haven't actually even tried downloading all of the the maps yet, but I'm gonna have to do it at some point. Alright, I need to find where this initialize actually gets called from. It's here. Okay. Yeah, okay. I see what's happening here. I have two methods called the same thing. Yeah, I'm gonna have to think about how to do this then. It's always tricky when you want to hook in something from tests to figure out exactly how much you should rip out to make it work. Okay, so it calls initialize when the pod starts. Maybe I should just make it so you can reinitialize the pod. I think we'll do it like this. Actually, for this one, it's always going to be the defaults. A bit ugly, but let's see if it compiles. Yeah, I should do this better. Hello. Alright, that I guess should be a bit better. You see. So basically what I'm trying to get to first is kind of build some tests with some kind of realistic zergling timings that hit the wall, because I know that at least if I misdetect a late, I guess like a 9 pool timing, then the wall just gets overrun. So I know I need to implement some kind of pro blocking and that kind of thing. Alright, I'm gonna just find the test where I'm doing this kind of thing. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I have not been at all rigid in how I've done my testing, and I mean, I would expect that like probably 90% of the tests I have don't actually run in the way they were intended to now, since I don't have like a an actual regression test suite that I run on a regular basis. It's more stuff that I set up for doing the kind of ad hoc testing and go from there. So when I call them tests here, there may be more just some way to run something in OpenBW. All right, maybe I should actually start implementing the logic in the opening selection. Yeah, like I think the main thing that I like about this setup is that you can do stuff like set up scenarios without having to run the full game, right? Like if I take some of my choke contain tests, right? Like they'll all uh, place a bunch of units on the map and just have them, do whatever they're supposed to do, right? And that's nice to be able to do that and not have to rely on setting it up so that the opponent does something and that the map kind of makes sense for the test and all that kind of thing. All right, so now we are into all the tests that are going to have some issues here. Um, so basically, I need to find anything that inherits from strategy engine. There is probably some easy way to do this without so much pasting, but to be honest, I haven't really learned a lot of C lines or Klein, I don't know how you're supposed to say it, um, stuff for this kind of thing. In general, I'm reasonably happy with it, though. It does get pretty slow at resolving references and stuff, which of course may just be a result of having a huge bot with dependencies on OpenPW and everything. I think that might work. All right. And that probably doesn't include the. I think I need to put some paths on that. Yeah. Yeah, I think like basically when I started, I just used SC Docker and never even bothered trying to get the game to run natively on my own computer. But I mean, that was also when I was starting from Steamhammer for my original bot, so it kind of started at a high level already. All right. Let's see if it actually builds now. And all of this was just to make it so my bot was forced to use the opening I want to test. Yeah, I have a really bad habit of creating tasks on my Trello board and putting in links to local replays that eventually get cleaned up when I do a rinse, and then I have some year-old ticket with a link to some local replay that's long gone. It's a good idea to use Bazel. And I'm also kind of regretting that I didn't save some replays of Zerg bots that were beating me with this timing, because there aren't any in the last 24 hours, so it would need some digging. But let's see if this works. How's the quality, by the way? Is it easy to read everything? Great. I think I turned up the resolution to whatever the max was. Figured it was more important with that than potentially dropping frames. Alright, so it actually compiled and it's picked the opening I wanted it to pick. So that's good. Um, and this one, yeah, I've set it to a frame limit of 10,000, so it'll be done pretty soon. Guess I can start setting up the test. You know what? I'll actually finish what I was doing before first and actually implement this pattern in the other strategy engines. I have quite a bit of duplicated code between these that should really be cleaned up at some point, but I mean, if we're honest, it's never going to happen. This one is actually not doing opening selection. Okay. All right, I think that should be done. I'm just gonna commit my changes. All right. So start a new test file here, and think I'll kind of use some of the stuff I have here, so just copy a bunch of stuff here. Alright. Can feel the tests are pretty slow. Usually a lot faster than this. Might be the stream overhead. Although it kind of seems like there's a lot of stuff happening there. Alright, now we can test if my replay viewer scene works. Alright. Let's see, what map did I pick? Fighting Spirit. Alright, so let's see what Steamhammer actually did. Chase the probe a bit. Alright, but they sent them all at once, then you would have 6 lings at about 4,500. So let me just so I have this small hack to cherry viz that when I select stuff, it prints out the code in the format I need for my my tests. Now it's gonna make a finished gateway, but that doesn't make too big a difference for what we're trying to do, I think. Alright. I also need to take Fighting Spirit and set the same random seed. And that's not in the name of that one. There. Alright. Okay, and if I put something like sixlings. I think for now I'll actually just comment all of this out, because I only want to test for now that the units are getting placed properly. Oh, I forgot to switch my scene back to C-line. Need to remember that. So I just basically pasted in the units, and now I'll try running it and see if everything gets placed properly. So this is basically using all of the all of the stuff that was set up for Torchcraft AI with the kind of patched version of OpenBW that supports placing units. And that's also running in CherryViz so that it recognizes it in the replay viewer as well. Why is this so slow today? I'm going to try to put power save mode on C-Line and see if it uses less CPU. All right, so switch back to the replay viewer. All right, it didn't make the buildings, and I think it's something like I need to have something that gives vision before the buildings can actually be placed. So maybe if I put a probe turns off. And where should this be? I guess by the pylon. Try that. And I forgot to switch back to C-Line again. I have a feeling this is going to happen a lot. So if I remember correctly, I have something in my testing framework that basically puts the units in the right orders, because the way it's implemented, it like allows you to place units on the map without having vision of it, but I think it doesn't allow you to put buildings without having vision of the building placements. And you also need to place pylons before you can place other buildings. Yeah, it looked like it created them this time. So that's good. And something crashed. It's interesting. Component crashed. Okay. Oh, I know why. It's because it's using Stardust as the opponent, and Stardust doesn't really play zergling. Or it doesn't understand that it has zerglings. So probably what I should do is see. I think I have something here that like attacks. Yeah, attack a frame module. Let's see what that does. Yeah. All right. So this should work. And I'll need to uncomment all of this. I'm using this. It's there. Alright, so the target position we should attack is probably like 117. Okay, let's try this. Another thing that would be interesting to check is what other bots do here. I don't think McRave I don't know. I don't think my grave does that kind of opening. Two hatchling do that. Let's see. Now I'm thinking about whether one of these chrono openings would do the same kind of timing that I'm looking at now. Basically, yeah, I guess 6 zerglings at slightly later than a rush, right? All right, let's see what this does. Right, and at frame 500, they all attack and die. All right, but I think what I want to do is see what Kronos 2 hatchling does. Stick on Fire Spirit. A bit more than 6,000. Right. So I'm kind of thinking that actually the timing I want here is a bit later. Where they build up a larger group of lings before attacking. It annoys me a bit that I didn't save the replays from Basil that were interesting. Maybe I can find something. Alright, so let's take a look at this one. Yeah, I think this is more what I need to be aware of. It's cases where my scout gets killed and the enemy has more than enough links to run by. And I think I also found the replay, or one of the replays I was thinking about before. Okay, so this one's actually here's the probe. It has 18 lanes. And it just overruns everything. Guess in that case I should pull probes. Alright, this is gonna be a different scenario then. Yeah, I'm thinking if I should I wonder what my bot would have classified this as. I think the problem is that I'm generally assuming that where is my probe still alive? Here. So it was, yeah, I guess also seeing that nothing is mining the gas anymore. At this point, I probably wouldn't have detected it as a mass zergling build because I wouldn't have seen any of the zerglings popping out of this hatchery. Yeah. Alright, I need to figure out how I can make a test for this. I wonder if... well, actually, I wonder what does this build actually do? It does the same thing, basically, right? Just gets speed and lots of links. Alright, this is good. So I think what I want to do is actually run some games with this build. I'll just do it like... frames in do I need to be here? Maybe something like 10,000. Right, and I'll just grab my hack to make sure I pick the right build. Alright. And yes, I need my imports. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, at some point, I also need to do some more work on trying to improve the survivability of my scout. I kind of have a feeling that a lot of the games that are being lost now are based on the scout getting trapped in some corner and then yeah, okay. I'm just gonna see. This is dangerous because this is what I did before COG and forgot to uncomment it again. But I'm doing this anyway. The issue is that in the big test, the test cases where I'm importing the other bot, there's oftentimes conflicts between yeah, names of stuff. I don't have all of my stuff namespaced. Yeah, yeah, I know. I mean, it probably would have found the strategies anyway, but that was, yeah, that was a weird one. And it was really like, it took an embarrassingly long amount of time after I updated on Basil to realize that that was actually happening. Yeah. Yeah, I mean the story of that build was basically like I saw that Chris had registered a random bot, right? And so I'm like, oh, now I need to actually do something against random, and decided that I wanted to, since I'd anyway made a Forge Expand build, I may as well just kind of brush it up a bit, and then it could be an alternate option for my versus random, like versus actual random, and did that, and then he pulled out. So it was kind of like a complete fluke. But in the meantime, like I was testing against Banana Brain's random bot. What's it called? I don't remember. And it's like I needed to, test against a random bot that could actually do, yeah, Brainiac, that could actually do, non-trivial things. And so I was testing against it and saw that this weird Forge Expand thing was actually doing okay against the Protoss bot, since it was kind of shutting down all of the Dark Templar cheese. So I decided to just kind of throw it in anyway, in Protoss, and then ended up accidentally having it be the only one that was enabled. So yeah, it's a funny thing. Okay, what happened there? I ran the wrong test. All right. I also saw that there was some warnings coming in that I haven't seen before. Interesting. I've been trying to kind of clean up my navigation grids a bit so I can use them for more stuff. And one of the warning messages I implemented recently was kicking in there. Oh, thank you. I forgot to switch it again. I guess there must be some way to get Streamlabs to automatically switch scenes when you switch windows or something, but we'll see. So yeah, I also do want to implement something where I do some probe blocking. I guess that's I haven't really gotten a good handle on when you do that in a real game. Is it to kind of protect against earlier links than or links that get there before the cannons are up? I guess it's just for run-bys. I guess the other thing is that I'm yeah, like I kind of decided to just go with two cannons in all situations. I think so. Obviously, in some cases, it's better to build one cannon and pull probes. But the question is whether that's worth investing a lot of time in. I think it's probably better to try to get this strategy recognition done. So here it did recognize a zergling all in, and it would have built more cannons. Maybe I should just take a look at my logic first strategy recognition. Okay, so I have a chest for 2 in base hatches. Gas without layer would be a good one to have as well. What actually happened in this game has I mean it's also what 3 hatch before pool. Yeah, Hydra busts are something that I'm probably gonna have a difficult time with. Because I know my walls are bad for that. They're too close to the front. Alright, let me see how that game went. So there it recognizes it based on the I guess it must be 2 hatches in main. Actually, it'd be interesting to see here what does yeah. Maybe I should try running one with this as well. This one recognized it as well. Thinking of how I should try to detect the enemy pulling workers off of gas. Guess I could check if they don't have any workers between their hatchery and gas. Alright, I'll try to implement this gas without layer, and for this one I need to take into consideration that my prober might see the gas and then die. So I don't want to, kind of want to see the difference in layer timing. So when would a bot usually get layer after gas? Let's take a look at the grave game. Right. Okay, that's not a. Maybe I should take one when I know I'll be going mutas. Yeah, so it was basically like within like 40 seconds. So if it's like 2000 frames later, yeah, so it should be about the same time as the minimum amount of time. Alright, well the first thing to do is to actually do something where we compare timings, because the way my strategy recognizer works now is generally by looking at frame times versus some static timings. But I can change that. All right. Guess I need to differentiate between cases where the first one hasn't been built yet. Okay, so if I also need to check if my scout is still alive. How can I see this? Ideally, I want to also check when I've last scouted all of the hatches. I can calculate that. Alright. So if the first one hasn't been seen yet, we'll just return 0. If the second one hasn't been seen yet, let's assume current frame. I think I need to allow specifying the counts. So the counts here are basically saying how many of the unit you want to see for this comparison. All right. So if we're a bit conservative here, say 1,000 frames. And is that what extractor? Yeah, so that's 3 in base. So that would of course trigger it. Alright, so what I want to see here is whether this new block actually triggers in this case. So I'll move it up. So I'll do 2 hatchling and yeah, that's fine. And I want to implement something to see when I last scouted all of the hatcheries. Wondering if this one. And I'll check the time we saw the middle of the hatchery, just for simplicity. Alright, check how the game went here. Okay. Does not look like actually detected this. So when we went to zergling all in here, what have we actually seen? I'm not loving the timings right now. Turn that on again. You know what, maybe I don't even need this. Okay, so if I do it instead so that I grab the timing of the extractor. Yep. See you, Dan. What are you doing? So let's go back to okay, so okay, so alright, let me try this and see if it can get me a bit closer to some good logic here. So I think here if I this one is not going to be needed. I'll just comment it out so it's not gone. Alright, now I'm just gonna check if this would have actually helped in this case. So when did I scouted the gas there? 330. And how much there? I've actually scouted that it didn't start the layer at the other hatch here. Yeah, but at least the logic is here. See how it does with the chroma test. I'm actually gonna note this bug so I can look into it later. Alright. Yeah, so here again it wasn't really effective because my probe died too quickly. To know if the hatches turned into layers. Alright, but this is a good example though, of where I could question is how many of the links do I know are here at this point? I know of the existence of 8 links. That's not great. I guess in principle I should send out some kind of scout here. So yeah, here I suddenly see a bunch. Might be useful to just when my scout in the main dies, maybe have some kind of, maybe send the scouts to keep an eye on what's massing on the map. maybe draw off some of them. Question is, there's not much here to really go by. All right. I think this is probably working as it should. So that's fine. And in this case, the main issue was that the probe died before it could see the second in-base hatch. Yeah, I should probably look at my probe logic at some point. Did it see the second hatch? It must have. It did. So, what is my logic with 2 hatches? Two hatches and more than 15 drones. Doesn't have more than 15 drones. Did it actually? So why did we not detect this earlier? This is a bit of a conundrum for me. Alright, let's do some logging. And then again. Alright, got this one again. There's also a lot of hatches. Where did my probe die? Here. There's 4 hatches at this timing is also a bit suspect. Right. Alright, that's good, same deal. Wait for the refresh. Yes, okay. So where am I put the second hatch? There. So oh, it's more than 2. Yeah, okay, now I understand. Well, that was a good bug fix. It's always great when the comment says builds 2 in-base hatches and the code says more than 2. Alright. Okay, I think I'm gonna commit this and say that it's at least a patch for the worst parts of it. And I'm going to yeah, alright. Alright, I think what I want to do now is actually dig a bit into this this thing I have here. So actually it looks like yeah, I had somewhat So if I grid here and say heat map enabled. Again, so basically the issue here is that the navigation grid has a cost towards the destination, and I thought that I had updated it so that the cost would kind of correspond to actual distances, but that's not actually happening. So I want to just check what is going on here. So it looks like it's happening when one of the cannons gets killed, which I think hits this remove blocking object. I think I know what happens here. Kind of made it so that it still has a decreasing cost function, but it jumps a bit more. And the reason for doing that is to avoid having to reprocess the entire rest of the map. I think that is done when we add, yeah. Yeah, this can kind of, when we add something that's blocking a grid, we can trace all of the paths that go through that place, but if we remove one, then we don't have the paths anymore. Yeah, I think maybe I should just accept that this is the case. So what we do is, what does this do? So we know that the cost should never be non-positive here. Did it trigger it again? No, it didn't destroy the building that time. Alright. Try again. I think maybe what I need to do is just revert a thing I did recently. Alright, so this block was using the grid cost for distance, and that's not actually possible, so I'm going to just remove that. reason why I'm kind of looking into this is because I want to look at doing more thread-aware pathing, and for that, I need to make sure I have some kind of a reasonable cost function to use for the search. One of the things that my bot is pretty bad at doing is getting to potential enemy expansion sites without going through the main army. Ideally, I'd like it to be able to basically path around. So if we look at something like this, right? If I want to go to the enemy third with a probe, it would be great if it could actually path, this way down instead of going through here. I'm not sure if it would actually go through there, but you get the idea. Because right now, it's basically the bot is only using observers for scouting bases, and that's obviously quite late in the proceedings in some cases. Alright, let's see if it actually kills the cannon this time. We can take a look at the heat map. Of course, it's not doing it because now my anti-all-in is actually triggering. Okay, one bug fix preventing another. But I think this is actually fine the way it is, because I think I just forgot about how I was updating my grids when a building was being removed, which is fine. Alright. Thinking of whether it makes sense to do any probe pulling now. But actually, I don't think so. Maybe, yeah, it'll probably make sense when some opponents start abusing it a bit more. Let's take a look at what's happening in some of the other PVZs. I know I definitely need to improve my corsairs. Yeah, so here it just barely got there in time. Built a load of cannons. And basically just survived. Okay, so that's the second. They ate all the overloads. Yeah, so let's see, monster. Monster is an interesting matchup because it still has kind of the Stardust specific builds in there that it used, yeah, at its last update for 2 years ago as a CAIT. So which one is it doing here? So it's doing the ling run by, or like run around, whatever you want to call it, which obviously works less well when you have a wall in between. But I'm more interested in what the corsairs are doing here. I think they tend to be pretty iffy against there. They could have picked off that overlord before it got into cover, I think. Kind of tempted to implement some kind of disruption web logic for bots that do this, where they just protect the overlords with a spore. I mean, one D-web here, and you lose all your overlords. They go scouting. And the army's going to kill the spore, and then they'll take the overlords. Yeah. Maybe a game against McGrave. Did McGrave get any healers in this game? Alright, so Scourge popped, and Beaver popped. Yeah, I think my Corsair logic is really bad against, yeah, it's just, they just ate 2 hits. Or what? Is one of them picked off? Maybe lucky. But in this case, yeah, McGrave only got 1 Muta out. I think I wonder what tests I have for Corsairs actually. I don't have any. I think what I basically need to do with my Corsairs, because my Corsair micro was made before I had Forge Expand. So I think I should probably change it so they stay near cannon cover until they actually have the numbers they need to fight against Scourge. I think, yeah. Take a look at what my corsair squad is doing right now. The combat simming of the corsairs is also fairly bad. Yeah, so I think the early scouting is fine. Check what this game did. Not sure if the frame limit was too low here to get anything reasonable out of it. Yeah, kind of ended soon here. So in this case, right, the Sarah is being chased away. It's just retreating. Really what it should do here is join up with whatever other Sairs we have. Yeah. Okay, so that's one thing. Just note what I want to do here. Alright, so we have Corsairs are in attack combat unit mode, which means what? So probably the because the current frame is below 11,000, that Corsair will be being told to scout. And it'll just run away from any threats. But I mean, I guess as soon as the enemy has something that can threaten a corsair, don't really need to scout anymore, right? Because either we'll know that they have hydras, or we'll know they have a spire. So yeah, so let's change this then. Alright. So there's that. And I also want to link up with another cluster. So basically a cluster here is gonna be see what the other one is doing. So it's going to attack those guys. So at this point, we have targets. If we say attack, and the sim says they shouldn't attack, alright, while I'm looking at this, I'm going to just run some. I'll just run a game here with a frame limit of, say, 16,000. So regroup target. Yeah, it's basically to regroup over the main army if it has a dragoon, or we regroup at a cannon. So that's kind of okay, I guess. I think maybe one thing I'd like to do is just basically say that if the enemy has a scourge, then we want to only attack if we have enough corsairs to kill them before they reach the Sars, right? I don't really trust the combat sim for that. It's gonna say that it'll probably say that the scourge will hit, but the stairs will probably just ignore that. Okay, so if we're in attack, that target's here. Just goes into the normal targeting logic. So where should I do this? Targets. Okay, so I think basically here what I should do is just not assign clusters to attack stuff. Yeah. I mean, the thing is, we might have situations where different clusters get further apart, right? I mean, I think we should really try to make sure that all of the corsairs are in one cluster. Alright, so maybe we should take a look at it here. That if what do we do with, okay, so threatened bases just get defended by all clusters. I guess if we don't have any in this case, combat targets, are they, okay, so Last position valid. I think this is wrong. So we want to actually consider, we already have a check here, if they haven't been seen for a while. And last position valid was just for checking if we've had vision on the last position they had without them being there. But that's okay. Not sure if this 1 minute for overlords is a bit too long though, if the last position isn't valid. Yeah, I think that should be okay. Maybe it should be more than 5 seconds for overlords without last position valid. It's only so far they can get. Let's how fast can an overlord get out of sight range? I'll say 30 seconds. Alright, let's do it like that. Okay, and so we're basically saying combat unit is something that can attack ground or attack air. Non-combat targets are split into whether they are vulnerable or not. Yeah, and this is also a source issue because we're not considering whether we can actually shoot them from a safe position. Yeah. One thing at a time. Alright. So if we have a threatened base, everybody goes to defend it. I guess we can take a look at how that goes. a really late spire in this one. And the rest of the McQueen's overlords. Okay, one there. So what is this? 3 leaders against 3 corsairs. They're fleeing. I mean, I think we must be including something in this. Sim that shouldn't be there. Because we're saying that we have 3 units and the enemy has 13. So it must be counting something that shouldn't be in the sim. I'll check what this sim does here. So this was in the cluster attack. Okay, so we have targets here. So it's actually it should only have flying units here. So they're in attack combat mode. And targets, combat targets. Anything that's not flying is excluded. Ah, okay, enemies in radius being added there. Alright, that makes sense then. I think the only thing I should include here is stuff that can shoot at us if they're ground units. And actually, I mean, it's fine to include units that are a long way away. Alright, let's see. Yeah, I have example here of using a predicate, right? Okay, so I think this should be enough. Should be a good little improvement. Let's see what else happens in this game. So this squads thing in JerryViz is also something that I built specifically for my bot to do some better debugging of what's actually happening with my squads. Maybe like we can look at the squad that's here. You can see the sim result is still saying that it'll be a big loss, so it should contain. And you can also turn on, does this actually work? Oh, I have to select the units. Yeah, so you can basically turn on drawing what the sim is expecting each unit to do. And if I select the it's going to go like this, right? And then see what everything's doing. And the sim are moving towards each other, and then the numbers are like the cooldowns for the attack. And I mean, you can argue how this should be handled with the collisions between these, right? But I think basically the issue is that if you prevent too much stacking, then it doesn't really take into account that the units move out of each other's ways. But if you allow too much stacking, then a group of zerglings just becomes invincible in the combat sim. And I mean, in this case, in a real battle, you would want everybody to be focus firing on something, right? So anyway, that was just to demo that a bit. How are we doing here? It's just running. Alright, so what I wanted to see here was what the corsairs do later on in the game. So here they basically run away. Get picked off. That's unfortunate. So these guys gather with the main army vanguard. The new one comes there as well. And then at some point, they kind of keep getting scared. So now there's a base being threatened. Why do they keep switching? It's because they keep changing their minds over which base to defend. Then they're going to the main, and then Amuda pulls up here, and they decide to protect that one instead. And then they kind of keep changing their minds over where they should go. Yeah. I don't think I have any logic here that remembers what they're doing. So I think I'll have to build that. Yeah, this is also maybe a bit too much of a simplistic logic here. What would be the best base to defend? I guess probably looking at the number of probes we have at the base would be more interesting. Alright, so let's see. Guess I'm not importing that here. I think I have a workers at base. Get base workers. Base mineral worker count. That's and I just want to know the count. I don't really care about getting the units. I'll make a new function for this. What am I doing? I should say this. Size 2. Set on side. Alright, I think that should be okay, but if there are no workers at any of the bases, then this obviously won't work. I guess we can just take the first one. In that case, I mean, we're already lost. Right. Let's take a look at the newest replay here. So this one has the fix to the issue where it was pulling in a lot of unneeded units into the combat set. Okay, do we have a corsair inbound? Yes. It's doing its thing. We have, yeah. Okay, this time. Wow. Alright. This time the Grave built Scourge, and that was to great effect. But it looks good now, at least the unit count is correct on that one. And that guy's gonna get picked off because it doesn't know how to. Yeah. These guys don't. I think they need to be more conservative about sticking on top of cannons. because this losing single corsairs is horrible. And now 3. Okay. Yeah, that basically. I was thinking enough numbers, it goes reasonably alright. Alright, I think I'm going to call them in a night. Maybe next steps will probably be to figure out how to do this corsair tuning, I think. And maybe keep an eye. I'll do a Basil upload with the changes I've made. And keep an eye on how it does with the zergling all-in builds. Alright, well, yeah, I'll close it off there. Thanks for watching.